Today I'll be reviewing Cathay Pacific's business class from Chicago to Hong Kong on a 777-300ER. There's quite a tale on how I even got on this flight, so if you'd like to skip how I got in the seat and the lounges to get straight to the flight itself, click the annotation above. As I mentioned on my video on American Airlines miles, I originally paid 70,000 miles to fly from Chicago to Dallas, to Tokyo, to Shanghai, to Hong Kong. This routing was nuts, as there's a direct flight. However, about 2 weeks before departure, I was able to change to Chicago to Boston to Hong Kong, which makes slightly more sense. So I arrived at Terminal 3 in O'Hare, which is the pinnacle of infrastructure in the United States, and made my way to the new American Airlines Flagship lounge. These lounges are American's response to United Polaris lounges, which I reviewed in my Lufthansa video. Some locations have a dedicated dining section for first-class passengers, but Chicago doesn't have such an offering, as American doesn't have first-class flights out of O'Hare. The lounge is sleek and spotless, with a decent spread of food ranging from salad to sushi, with everything in between. Alcohol is entirely self-serve, and there's a rotating specialty bar, and today it was Bloody Marys. There's even a Coke freestyle machine. Unfortunately, that evening had some major storms in several parts of the US, and cascading delays impacted most flights. Although I had an aircraft and crew, there was no captain, so I'd missed my flight from Boston to Hong Kong. The agents in the lounge rebooked me on the direct flight the next day, which, ironically, was what I wanted to begin with in the first place. So I went home for the night, passing other delayed flights on my way out.
Tomorrow for sure.
Cathay Pacific departs from Terminal 5, and unfortunately there's no way to transfer airside, so I couldn't return to the flagship lounge. Instead, Cathay uses the British Airways lounge, which seems only fitting. If you prefer a different colonial power, the Air France lounge is accessible with Priority Pass. The British Airways lounge was significantly older and in need of a refresh, with a modest selection of sandwiches and snacks, though again the alcohol was self-serve. This Cathay 777-300ER was configured in 4 classes, with 2 rows of first class in a 1-1-1 configuration, and business class in a 1-2-1. Like many carriers with premium heavy configurations, there are 2 business class cabins. I selected 12K, which was the 4th row on the plane because math is hard, which sits in the mini cabin with only 2 rows. Cathay's reverse herringbone seats are a solid product. There's ample legroom in the footwell. Storage options are great, with a cubby for headphones and water, and another storage area near your legs, and a secret compartment by the aisle. Privacy is great, due both to the angle as well as the divider by your head. There's a universal power adapter, USB port, and AV input? I guess if you brought your DVD player from the early 2000s it would come in handy. There's also seat recline buttons and a reading light. The tray is fairly standard but small. The amenity kit had products from Galley and conveniently contained mouthwash. The socks also had grip pads on the bottom. I was offered champagne and a cool towel shortly after boarding. While still on the ground, the flight attendants took our drink and food orders. They did this while kneeling in the aisle for each passenger, which, while respectful, seems unnecessarily difficult. I ordered the Pacific Sunrise, which was orangey and tasty, and was served with smoked warm nuts. Cathay Pacific has been struggling financially, and meal service was first on the chopping block. However, Cathay recently claims to have improved their catering, replacing trolley service with trays. For starters, there was duck with chili, which had a good flavor and was sufficiently spicy. For mains, there were 6 options, and I went with the beef short ribs, which were flavorful, sufficiently moist, and paired very well with polenta. For dessert, I had a tiramisu, which was more mousse than ladyfingers, though still good. Following dinner, we were presented with chocolates, which were also really delicious. The entertainment system was good, with 15 pages of Western films, a decent moving map, and an external camera. However, it was a bit finicky, often lagging and needing content to be restarted. Also, there were 5 minutes of advertisements before each movie. 5! At least I was able to reliably fast forward. As I've mentioned in prior videos, this is a real pet peeve of mine. The interface was also a bit tricky, requiring a solid press with your nail rather than the end of your finger. If you get hungry, there's snacks in the galley. There's also a dine-on-demand menu. Being a Marylander, I ordered the Maryland crab cake. It was actually good with a great crab to breading ratio. I tried to order their non-alcoholic signature drink, the Cathay Delight, but it was unavailable. Instead, I washed things down with a Hong Kong milk tea. For sleeping, the seat has 82 degrees in recline, which was not the full 90 degrees I had just had on Air New Zealand, and the difference was noticeable. The seat was firm, and with no mattress pad, I could feel each component of the seat as it unevenly met my body. I ended up sleeping for about 4 hours and could have continued, but unfortunately I needed to get some work done. One cool characteristic of this polar route we took was that in the winter, for nearly the entire route, we were in darkness. I did catch a bit of the sunset when I woke over China. Breakfast orders were taken 5 hours before service, and I went with the Western option. The croissant was warm, buttery, and flaky, the sausage good, but the hash browns had a mealy aftertaste that rendered them inedible. The goat cheese omelet also really wasn't that great, and that's coming from someone who believes that goat cheese makes everything better. Goat cheese! Finally, we made our approach into Hong Kong Airport in the dark. Due to very strong headwinds, our arrival was delayed by 50 minutes even though we departed on time. And the gate-to-gate time was 16 hours and 46 minutes.
One eternity later.
Overall, I'd say Cathay Pacific's business class is as solid as its mattress pad-less seats are. The crew was flawless, striking a balance between attentiveness and privacy. The seats really could use a refresh, and the lack of mattress pad is noticeable. The food overall was good, but the breakfast was quite disappointing. But overall, it's a fine way of traversing the Pacific, and I'd absolutely be happy to fly with them again. I'll leave you with a montage of my 24 hours in Hong Kong. If you liked this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe for more great content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.